Good day, everyone. We are the Group 4 and we will discuss a topic about overcoming resistance to Before we proceed with the discussion, let me introduce the Group 4 reporters, starting with Sharika Maricalica, Jana May Corazon, Ira May Dimagala, Andrea May Galve, Luis Lara, and Nicole Sayas. The group formulates seven objectives. First, encourage a culture of continuous improvement and adaptability. Second, understand and address the stages of resistance to facilitate smoother transitions. Third, equip leaders to effectively communicate and support change initiatives. Fourth, implement a structured change management model to guide the process. Fifth, identify and leverage factors that support and accelerate change acceptance. Six, recognize and mitigate factors that hinder change implementation. And lastly, develop and apply strategies to reduce resistance and ensure smooth adoption of change. Before we discuss the presented topic, allow me to read a quote from Sam Walton. You can just keep doing what works one time. Everything around you is changing. To succeed, stay out in front of change. Everyone knew that change is an inevitable occurrence or constant, whether in personal or in organization setting. We can always stick to our original plan dahil may pagkakataon na may biglaang pagbabago, be it in rules or conditions. Ang pinapahiwatig ng quote na to is don't stay still or wag mong balewalain ang mga changes dahil naniniwala ka na okay or tama na. You have to initiate and expect kung ano yung maaaring magbago. Therefore, if we can stop it, we have to learn how to adapt and adjust with the changes in our surroundings. Change in a business is a strategy a company do when they expand and adopt new technology to stay competitive and relevant. Economic pressures and increasing competition in the marketplace are two among several factors that made many organizations change and reinvent their process. According to the CEO of a major Fortune 500 company, any business that is satisfied with the present state of affairs is deluding itself. Sitting still or moving at a snail's pace is effectively moving backward. It means you should not be satisfied with the strategy or current procedures of your business. Can also be interpreted as don't overestimate your business dahil sa isang pagbabago, maliit man o malaki, your business might end up at stake. Pace if moving backward, meaning a company cannot stay ahead of the curve, adapt to changing conditions, or seize new opportunities. For example, Nokia overestimate the reputation of their product dati, kaya they do not follow the changes in market trends in which naging dahilan para mapag-iwanan o maungusan sila ng mga kilalang brand na ngayon when it comes to smartphone. So, these organizations come up with the three frequent responses. First, re-engineering. It is about reinvention. Isa siyang reverse design process in which the management rethink kung ano yung maaring mabago sa existing business methods, work procedures, and attitudes toward customers and suppliers. Kumbaga, they will analyze and determine the desired outcome then works backwards para makagawa ang management ng strategic plan to meet the desired outcome. Second, right sizing. It is a process of restructuring a business to increase efficiency and match current goals or matugunan yung mga panibagong objectives. And ginagawa ng management ay magbawas ng workforce and expenses, reorganizing upper management or employee structure, and changing or redefining job descriptions. Ang purpose ng process na to is malaman yung right size and structure for the company. Third, downsizing. Sa response na to, permanenteng tinatanggal ng company yung mga manggagawa and division sa organization na unproductive na. Ito ay kadalasang emergency response ng business para patuloy pa rin yung kita kahit in case na may problema or hindi maayos ang kalagayan ng ekonomiya. Kapag organizational level, magkakaroon ng changes sa policies, procedures, organization structures, manufacturing processes, and workflows para masolusyonan ang problema nakita sa isang organization. However, in improving the programs, people are quite resistant to change, especially kapag personal level dahil change in personal level represent altering traditional behavioral patterns, interpersonal relationships, and job roles, which is para sa iba hindi ganon kadaling baguhin ang nakasanayan or their daily routine. The next topic is about the life cycle of resistance to change that will be discussed by Ms. Jana May Carizon.
Let's now proceed to the life cycle of resistance to change. When organizations make significant changes such as downsizing or improving the overall quality management, they often face resistance. Itong resistance ito, pwede siyang mag-manifest as disagreements and conflicts amongst the members of the organizations. Typically, this resistance follows a pattern. Ito yung tinatawag nating the life cycle of resistance to change. And understanding this pattern, this cycle, can help organizations manage yung mga challenges na mag-arise during the change process, making it easier for them to navigate through the opposition towards successful implementation. So let's start. Phase 1. In this phase, konti pa lang yung number ng tao na nakakakita ng need for change at syempre, yung nagsusupport for it. So, yung mga early advocates na to, malaking chance na maka-face sila ng opposition kaya such as criticism, mockery, ridicule, and yung effort nila maliit lang. Kaya naman, super pro ng stage na to na mag-fall apart yung change initiative. However, kapag naman sa early stage pa lang, sa phase 1 pa lang, nagkaroon na ng maraming tao na nagsusupport sa change initiative, maaaring dito pa lang makagain na ng momentum yung change initiative. Next is phase 2. In this phase, more people become aware of the change and it is discussed more openly. So, nagiging clear rito kung sino yung mga nagsusupport at sino yung mga against dito. And as the understanding increases, yung initial threat or yung mga disagreements and conflicts nung phase 1 ay bumababa na siya. And yung initial awkwardness nung phase 1 ay nag-start na rin siyang mag-fade sa phase 2. And next is phase 3. Next is phase 3. This phase will probably mean life or death for the change effort. Kasi dito, yung mga nagsosupport and yung mga against sa change effort ay mag-head to head na. So, how well this conflict handled by the leaders can either make or break the change initiative. So, if hindi to na-manage ng maayos itong phase na to, malaki yung chance na yung change effort ay mag-fail at completely ma-destroy. Next is phase 4. So after na successfully na manage yung phase 3, meron pa rin sa phase 4 ng mga maliliit, mga small number ng resistors. Pero view na lang siya as mga stubborn at annoying. However, it is to remember na they can still this annoying and stubborn people, they can still encourage others to challenge yung change. So, careful handling of both the opposition and yung mga unsure or yung mga hindi nagvo-voiced out ng side nila ay crucial. In this stage, addressing the concerns and doubts ng lahat ng members ng organization is very crucial to ensure yung success ng change initiative. And last, phase 5. In this final phase, meron pa ding mga konting tao na nagre-resist sa change. Pero na-outnumber na sila ng mga nagsusupport doon. Unlike nung mga nakuunang phases, mas maraming mga against kesa sa mga nagsusupport. Sa phase 5, konti na lang yung mga resistors. Pero kahit na may mga konti pa ding mga disagreements dito sa phase na to, hindi siya mawawala. Pero hindi na siya ganun kalakas at hindi na siya ganun kadalas. So that's the life cycle of resistance to change. Next topic is leading change. According to Brown and Harvey, changing an organization involves modifying its existing system, structure, and culture to some different standard or level of performance. And according still to Brown and Harvey, yung main purpose ng pag-change ay to make the organization more effective and para ma-ensure yung survival nila. Moderate and major changes according to Cotter. According to him, moderate changes are typically implemented annually to enhance efficiency and adaptability without causing major disruptions. On the other hand, major changes naman, sinasuggest niya na dapat yung mga organizations mag-undergo ng major changes every 4 to 5 years to stay competitive and effective. Still under leading change, here are the factors affecting the success of change. First is evaluation of change, advocates of change, degree of change, time frame, and the impact on culture. Let's start with advocates of change or change agent. According to Malik, they are the catalyst for the change management process. They drive, support, and the implementation of change within the organization. Also, they promote, champion, and guide the change efforts to ensure na effective siya and na-embrace siya ng whole organization. A change agent can be a CEO if yung change ay company-wide or managers if specific divisions or they can also hire internal and external organizational development para makapag-brought in ng mga new expertise and perspectives. Next is degree of change, or the extent of change, or how big or small it is. According to the University of Glasgow, change can be classified into two types. First is major change and next is minor change. Major change involves significant alterations such as major updates to a program's content or structure. Major changes alter the fit, the form, and the function of a process. Examples nito ay paglo-launch ng new product. Next is minor change. This involves smaller, less impactful adjustments. Examples includes revising policies. Next is impact on culture. According to Brown and Harvey, kapag yung change ay mas malaki yung effect niya sa existing cultures and norms ng organizations, mas malaking resistance ang likely to occur and mas mahirap mag-implement ng change program effectively. This factor is very important because it affects how members of the organization perceive and adjust to the new changes. Next factor is evaluation of change. This determines the effectiveness and impact of change initiatives. Evaluation of change is about checking how well the change initiatives are working and understanding also yung impact nito. It helps identify yung mga unintended consequences na mag-occur due to the change. Sobrang crucial ng factor na ito kasi dito madidetermine natin if truly effective ba yung change initiative and if nade-deliver ba niya yung desired outcomes ng organization. That is according to Daschler 2018. Next is time frame, or the length of time in which the change program is to be implemented. The time frame refers to how long it takes to implement the change program. Sobrang crucial ng factor na to para ma-determine yung success and yung effectiveness ng change process. Generally, according to SagePub, kapag mas gradual yung change, mas mahaba yung time frame niya. Pero, mas malaki naman yung chance na successful yung change effort na yon. In summary, successfully implementing change in an organization requires careful attention to several key factors, such as the advocates of change, impact on culture, evaluation of change, time frame, degree of change. By considering these factors, organizations can better navigate the challenges of change and achieve yung mga desired outcomes nila sa change initiative na ginawa nila.
A cultural change can impact organizational culture because those change eventually give rise to the new culture. And if there's a change, there could be a resistance. Change resistance makes it challenging to alter organizational culture due to the refusal to change of the stakeholders. And in the change model, based on Brown and Harvey, the degree of change and the effect of organization's culture are the two important factors in organizational change. There are 4 quadrants in the change model, and it shows the level of resistance based on the degree of change and the impact on the culture. I personally changed the color of each quadrant to easily highlight things. The first quadrant, the orange quadrant, there is a minor change and minor impact to the culture. The quadrant shows that when the change is minor and has a little effect on the culture, the resistance will be less or low, and the success will more likely to occur. The second quadrant is the yellow quadrant. There is a minor change and major impact to the culture. The quadrant shows that when the change is minor but has a big effect on the culture, resistance may be still anticipated, but it is still depending on the rate of change and the severity of the threat. That is why it's just a moderate chance of success. The third quadrant is the green quadrant. There is a major change and minor impact to the culture. The quadrant illustrates the scenario where there is a big change but a little effect on the culture. As a result, resistance is still expected, but this can be handled smoothly by the good management of the organization. The fourth quadrant, or the blue quadrant, there is a major change and major impact to the culture. The quadrant illustrates that when the change is significantly large and has a major influence on the culture, the greatest resistance can be anticipated. Therefore, the chance of success is low.
Overall, the change model shows the major or the minor degree of change and its impact to organization's culture, as well as how high or low the organization's resistance to those scenarios. The next is a driving force that will be presented by Ms. Galvin.
Moving forward with the next topic is the driving forces toward acceptance of a change program. But first, let's define what is driving forces. So these are factors that enhance an organization's motivation to adopt a proposed change program. Their intensity can vary based on the specifics and current circumstances, and some driving forces may generate the need for change or energize the program, while others may emerge as the change progresses. And now, let's explore the four driving forces. And first one is the dissatisfaction with the present situation. So a deep sense of dissatisfaction with the existing situation may be a potent motivator for change. Organizations like individuals can experience a sensation of discomfort without knowing the actual cause. And this dissatisfaction is typically caused by a perceived difference between the current practical state and an ideal or intended future state. So when an organization understands that it is not reaching industry standards, internal goals, or performance benchmarks, discontent grows, fueling a desire for change. And the need for addressing these weaknesses frequently drives the effort to introduce new tactics or initiatives. So the second driving force are the external pressures toward change. So internal factors are the primary drivers of organizational change, pushing organizations to make changes to their practices and policies. So there are several external factors that might contribute to the sudden need for change. First is the market competition. So in a highly competitive market, organizations are motivated to innovate and adapt in order to preserve or gain a competitive advantage. So the desire to exceed or at least stay up with competitors may lead firms to assess and adjust their strategy and operations. Second is the regulatory requirements. So changes in laws and regulations might require modifications to organizational procedures and systems. So complying with new or updated legislation often requires changes in organizational structure to achieve legal and operational compliance. And lastly, for the technological advancements. So the fast pace of advancement in technology may encourage organizations to update existing systems and adapt to the new technologies. So maintaining relevant and competitive in a progressively tech-driven industry necessitates ongoing adaptation and development. So the third driving force or motivator is the momentum toward change. So establishing and maintaining momentum is essential for the successful execution of initiatives to promote change. So organizational development or the OD programs emphasize the significance of incorporating employees in the change process. And employees who are engaged and active contributors in the change are more likely to be dedicated to its success. And significant financial investments in transformation initiatives also help maintain the momentum. And organizations that have spent significant resources are often driven to keep going through the process of change in order to receive a return on their investment. And effective change management usually involves the whole organization or established groups for ensuring an efficient and organized implementation process. Or the last driving force is the motivation by management. So the function of management in encouraging acceptance of change cannot be emphasized. Support and encouragement from senior leaders, such as the CEO or top managers, could significantly boost employees' motivation and commitment. Leaders who are respected and considered reliable can be effective motivators. Their behavior, which is characterized by openness, trust, honesty, and collaboration, has the ability to establish a good environment and influence others inside the organization to adopt similar views. However, employees may get discouraged or hesitant to change when they see the complicated nature and possible difficulties it entails. Thus, positive management behavior may help to address the challenges by creating an environment that promotes encouragement and shared goals. So the next topic will be discussed by Ms. Lara.
Now, let's talk about restraining forces blocking implementation of change programs. So when it comes on implementation of any organizational development change program, it is important na mabigyan nating pansin o makonsider yung mga restraining forces na tinatawag. Ano nga ba pag sinabing restraining forces? These are some forces that oppose change. Example niyan is yung no cooperation movement, sabotage of change efforts, hindi pagsunod sa bagong patakaran, and kawalan ng disiplina. The first one is the moving away from one's comfort zone. So we all know that we all have our own comfort zone. And minsan when implementing change program, it requires employees to go outside of their comfort zone. And with that, syempre, we know naman na it's not that easy sa iba na mag-take risk and lumabas ng comfort zone nila. Lalo kung hindi naman yun yung nakasanayan nila. And also, ayun na kasi yung nakasanayan nilang gawin and doon na rin sila naging comfortable. And mas alam na din nila yung mga possible na mangyayari. Kumbaga, predictable na siya. Unlike pag may biglang changes, nangangapa pa si employee and di nila alam ano yung mga possible na mangyayari. With that, it causes resistance when it comes on implementation of change programs. So, pangalawa is yung fear of the unknown. So, fear of the unknown is nag-act siya as a major restraining for the members of organization. Nagiging anxious yung mga employee pag kailangan nilang ipagpalit yung mga nakasanayan na nilang gawin doon sa mga bagong changes na unpredictable naman kung ano yung mga possible outcome. So, with that, if there's a lack of information about the changes, it will be a major source of fear and also a cause of resistance sa changes. Pangatla is yung routine disruption. So, there are changes na nakakaapekto sa employees' habitual routine. And we all know, syempre, na pag nakasanayan mo na, it is really hard na baguhin yung habit mo na yon. So, ganun din sa employees. It is sometimes hard for them to change kung anong mga nakasanayan nila. Kaya, nagiging resistance ito sa changes. The next one is yung norms and culture of the organization. Okay, so sometimes there are organization na sobrang strong ng culture nila and they are not willing to change one's opinions or behavior. In short, are inflexible. So, it is observed na if ang organization shared a very strong culture and has a rigid norms, mas nakakaranas sila ng maraming challenges or struggle while implementing change programs. Next one is the redistribution of power. So, ang mangyayari, individuals who feel lost in power, sila yung mas may chance na mag-resist sa change since they felt na wala na silang control and wala na silang influence sa organization. So, those who have the most to lose naman will be the most likely to disapprove or resist sa proposed changes. Last one is yung loss of benefits leading to a cost-benefit analysis. So, there are members who finds cost-benefit analysis. With that, it can lead managers or employees to restrain a change program if they feel that the cost surpasses the benefit. The next topic will be discussed by Nicole Saras.
Now, let's move forward for the next topic, which is strategies to lessen the resistance. So, in any organization, resistance to change is a common challenge that can hinder progress and innovation within the organization. According to the study of McKinsey and Company, approximately 70% of change initiatives fail to achieve their desired goals, often due to employer resistance and lack of management support. Now, these strategies is focused on understanding the root causes of opposition and implementing approaches that facilitates acceptance and cooperation in the organization. So for number one, education and communication. It is important that the managers or the higher ups in the organization provides clear information about the reasons for the major changes happening inside the institution. Why? Because if they provide clear insights of its benefits and potential impact, um, the members of organization can have a positive perspective about the change. Moreover, and having an effective communication program as well can help in minimizing the uncertainty of fear of the unknown with the change. With that, it can be used to lessen the resistance of the employees. So next is create a vision. So in creating vision, it is really important. Why? Because it is serve as the direction of the company as well as the employees. That is why organizations spend thousands of money to come up with a good vision. Moreover, having vision in the company is a fundamental step that provides inspiration for both organization and its members. A compelling vision serve as a guiding star, helping to align efforts and motivate them towards the common goal. It also boosts the company's aspiration and values, providing clear sense of purpose in the organization. So for the number three, participation in the change. So one of the fundamental strategies for increasing change is to ensure that those affected by the change are given the opportunity to participate in the decision making process rather than just being pushed into accepting it. Like they have no choice but to follow the change blindly. So with that, with the employee involvement in the issues that affects them, it raises the likelihood that they will view the program to be acceptable. So for the fourth one is the facilitation and support. So members encouraging for a change can also address disagreements by promoting the change process and offering support to individual participating. So, if the circumstances permit, managers may set up a public recognition or financial incentives or promotions for the program to boost their morale. Moreover, they can also offer resources, training, and support to help the employees adapt to change. By addressing their concerns and providing guidance throughout the process of change, resistance can be lessened. Now, let's proceed to the next topic, which is negotiation, agreement, and politics. One effective approach to reduce resistance to change is through negotiation. This can involve making agreements with those who may resist the change. For example, unions might agree to changes in return for increased pension benefits, or employee might accept early retirement in exchange for better terms. So, alternatively, employees may be transferred to other division rather than facing layoffs. Managers can also negotiate with the department heads to mitigate the impact of change in their teams. So next one is leadership. Effective leadership is really crucial in managing changes. Why? Because leaders play a important role in guiding the organization through transitions, setting the tone, and modeling the desired behaviors in the organization. Their ability to inspire and motivate can significantly influence the success of the change initiative. So for the next one is the rewarding system. We all know that rewarding system is really effective in managing resistance. Why? Because implementing reward system can able the employees to support and engage with the change process. Recognizing and rewarding those who contribute positively can foster a supportive environment and encourage others to follow suit. Next is explicit and implicit coercion. So, in some cases, organization may resort to coercion to enforce change. This can involve explicit or implicit threats such as job losses, denial for promotions, or pay raises. For an instance, when a company president mandated participation in a quality improvement system, managers who resisted were met with the consequences. So while each methods are rarely used by the organization, they carry risk and can undermine future support for changes initiative. Now let's proceed to the next one, which is the climate conducive to communication. Creating an open and non threatening communication environment is really essential for minimizing resistance. When all parties feel respected and free to express their thoughts, ideas, or concerns, it helps to break the cycle of hostility and aggression between resistors and change advocate. So, fostering attitudes of respect, understanding, and open communication can build trust and cooperation within the organization. So next is power strategies. So although organization development practitioners often hesitate to use power strategies, acknowledging the role of power within an organization can be necessary. Power dynamics are inherent in most organizations, and leveraging them appropriately to persuade members to value the organizational development program to change. So sometimes it may involve guiding employees to work more cooperatively with others or offering alternatives for those who prefer less independent roles. So that's the strategies to lessen the resistance. So successfully navigating organizational change requires more than just strategic vision. It demands a deep understanding of human behavior and the potential for the resistance. So, by employing well crafted strategies such as open communication, stakeholder involvement, and comprehensive training, organizations can significantly reduce resistance and enhance the likelihood of successful change implementation. Before we end our presentation, I would like to leave a quotation from Joan Scott. So, those who expect moments of change to be comfortable and free of conflict have not learned their history. So, this quote emphasizes that change often comes with discomfort and conflict. So, it suggests that expecting change to be smooth and effortless is unrealistic, as history has shown that transitions frequently involve challenges and resistance. Embracing this reality can help individuals and organizations better prepare for and navigate the complexities of change. Understanding the conflict and discomfort are natural parts of the change process can lead to more effective strategies for managing and overcoming resistance. And that would be all. I hope that you learned something for our group for today. Thank you very much.